Good day. Today, I'm thinking of something my wife and I read this morning. After we had breakfast, we always do our morning Bible reading together. And today we're in Mark chapter 5. And most of you have you've read this, about the demoniac in the Gadarenes, who was in the tombs and that. But I want to look at some things in the book of Mark, that kind of stood out to me today and indicated something. Okay, Mark chapter 5, verse 1. Then they came to the other side of the sea, to the country of the Gadarenes. And when he had come out of the boat, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit, who had his dwelling among the tombs, and no one could bind him, not even with chains, because he had been often bound with shackles and chains, and the chains had been pulled apart by him, and the shackles broken in pieces. Neither could anyone tame him. So you see, this man, when Jesus got out of the boat on their side, he met him. He had an unclean spirit in him. And the man lived and dwelt among the tombs. And no one could bind him, not even with chains, because he had often been bound with shackles and chains. Can you imagine someone so wild, untamed, demonic, that even chains and shackles could not contain him, bound up? And they just couldn't do anything with him. It says, neither could anyone tame him. So he was wild. And we see some of this wildness in him. And always, night and day, he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying out and cutting himself with stones. So this man's predicament was terrible. He was vexed and tormented by unclean spirits. Day and night, he had no rest. He was in the mountains and also in the tombs, where the dead people were buried, crying out and cutting himself with stones. He was in great anguish and torment and vexation because of the evil spirits. And we see that. Evil spirits torment people with thoughts that won't go away, with emotions, scenarios, fears, regrets. They keep replaying the video over and over of the things that happened to them or that they did in life. There's no peace to them. This is an extreme case because he didn't just have one demon, as we'll see. He had many. When he saw Jesus from afar, he ran and worshipped him. He fell down at Jesus' feet. And he cried out with a loud voice and said, "What have I to do with you, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I implore you by God that you do not torment me." And we see this now. If we just look at it from the natural aspect, we go, what's wrong with that man? Why is he talking about Jesus? How do you know who he was? And why is he begging Jesus not to torment him? He's imploring him. For Jesus said to him, "Come out of this man, unclean spirit." So we don't see all the dialogue. We don't see all that went on here. This is just a highlights of a news report, as it were, that Mark's given. And Jesus had already spoken to the unclean spirit to come out of the man, but they weren't coming out yet. Then he asked him, "What is your name?" So he wanted to know the name of this evil spirit. And he answered, as the demon answered, out of the man. He spoke through the man's voice, saying, "My name is Legion, for we are many." Now, in a Roman legion, there was over 6,000 men, 6,400. So I can't remember the exact amount. It was a lot. So this man had a lot of demons in him. For we are many. So there's many in this man. That's why he was so vexed and tormented. Most people don't have anything near this. Also, he begged him earnestly that he would not send them out of the country. So the demons were begging him that they would not send him out of the country. Now a large herd of swine was feeding there near the mountains. These are pigs. And to the Jews, it was forbidden for them to eat swine. So it was near the mountains, and there was a large herd of swine feeding there. So all the demons begged him, notice that? Saying, send us to the swine that we may enter them. And one of the other Gospels, when the demons were begging him that he wouldn't send them out of the country, they also begged him that they would not send them to the abyss, the pit. And so all the demons begged him. Notice there's more than one demon begging him. There was more than one demon speaking out of this man. So we see some stuff here, some hints at what was going on. There was dialogue. Jesus, the demons were saying things to him, begging him, trying to make deals with him, begging him, imploring him. Then something happened. And at once Jesus gave them permission. Then the unclean spirits went out and entered the swine. There were about 2,000. And the herd ran violently down the steep place into the sea and drowned in the sea. So Jesus sent them out and gave them permission to go into the swine. Normally he would send them to the abyss. That's what they were begging for. That's one of the other gospel writers recorded it as. And then all these pigs ran violently. They were demonized. All the demons went into the 2,000 pigs. So that shows you there was thousands of demons in this man. And they ran violently down the steep place into the sea and drowned in the sea. So those who fed the swine fled. They couldn't believe it. And they told it in the city and in the country. They went all over the place telling it. And they went out to see what it was that had happened. So the people that heard about it, they went out to see what had happened. Now it would have taken some time to get the word out everywhere on foot, and then for the people to return to the place. Then they came to Jesus and saw the one who had been demon-possessed and had the legion, sitting and clothed in his right mind, and they were afraid. In one of the other Gospels, it says this man was naked. In one of the other Gospels also said there was another demonized man with him. But Mark concentrates on this guy who had the legion. So they came, and they knew this man. All these people knew about him. And here he is, tamed. He's sitting there, clothed with Jesus, and he's in his right mind. He's no longer tormented and vexed. The demons were gone. He was at peace. He was back to himself. These demons were out. And the people were afraid, it says here. And then verse 16, it says, and those who saw it, so those who were there when Jesus did it, and those who saw it told them, that's the people that came, how it happened to him who had been demon-possessed and about the swine. So the ones that were there watching it saw it and heard the stuff that was going on. They told all the rest of the people that came out. Then they, that's all the people, began to plead with him to depart from their region. Now that's very interesting. Why would they plead with Jesus to depart? Well, in that area where they lived, there were many Gentiles there, plus Jews that did not keep the law. That's why they were raising swine. they were like outcasts. They were like rebels in a sense to God's law. And there'd be a lot of people that were demonized in that region. And their demons would be getting nervous when Jesus comes around. Everywhere Jesus went, demons in people got nervous. In times they would cry out, even in the synagogues when Jesus would enter and teach in the synagogues with authority. The demons couldn't hold it. They started manifesting and shrieking and crying out. So they began to plead with him to depart from their region. And when he got into the boat, when Jesus got into the boat, he, who had been demon possessed, begged him that he might be with him. He wanted to go with Jesus. However, Jesus did not permit him, but said to him, "Go home to your friends and tell them what great things the Lord has done for you and how he's had compassion on you." Interesting. How many times when Jesus healed people of physical diseases, infirmities, etc., did he tell them to not tell anybody, but keep it quiet? And yet here, Jesus is saying, "No, don't come with me. Go home to your friends and tell them what great things the Lord has done for you and how he's had compassion on you." So Jesus wanted this man to go back to his family and friends and tell them what Jesus did for him, and how he had compassion for him, on him. And that's a testimony, very powerful. And everybody would know what he had been like. It was known to everyone, especially his family and friends in his home and hometown. And he departed and began to proclaim in Decapolis all that Jesus had done for him, and all marveled. Did you notice that word? He departed, began to proclaim in Decapolis. That's the area where this was. All, or everything, that Jesus had done for him, and all marveled. Now, there's a lot in that last verse. When it says all things, all that Jesus had done for him, that indicates it was more than just casting the demons out. He was clothed and in his right mind, sitting with Jesus when the people returned later. It would have taken time. What was transpiring between the time the demons were cast out? What all happened? What was the process like? And what was he doing for Jesus? And what was Jesus doing for him? That everybody marveled. Well, when you do deliverance, it's not just the expulsion of demons. There is the healing of the brokenness and the wounds and the traumas, and dealing with the sin and repentance so that it's all dealt with. And so Jesus would have, during that time, taken him through all that and did all this for him. That's why it says he began to proclaim all that Jesus had done for him. And you know what? The people marveled. It was marvelous. You got to testify to all these people of what Jesus had done for him. And that's what Jesus does. He's come to heal the brokenhearted. You know, this man didn't end up like this overnight. It was a process of his whole life. There may have been generational curses. Why was he living there? How much brokenness and wounds in his heart and soul. How much damage, how much sin had he been in? Jesus would have dealt with all of that so that he was now clothed in his right mind and free of thousands of demons. All those demons cannot just be in somebody for no reason. They had to have a legal right before God to be in this man. And Jesus set him free, healed him, and went through the process of doing many things for him, so that when he told others about it, they marveled. So that's what deliverance is about. That's what Jesus can do for anybody who is willing, and he wants to do it. So if you're tormented and vexed, even to a degree, and nothing you do can get you free, set you free, you haven't been set free. People have prayed, you've read your Bible, you've fasted, you've done everything. Yet there's vexation and torment, and there's behavior that comes out of you. You may have weird, wild dreams at night that are horrible. You can't stop. Maybe thoughts and emotions and feelings. Maybe even times your personality changes, and maybe things come out of your mouth that you didn't really want to say. But if you need help, send me an email. Get hold of me. Might not be demons, but it might be. And Jesus, too, can set you free and heal you. You'll have a testimony of what he's done for you. May the Lord bless each one of you. Bye for now.